Hey, can you hear me now?
I can. Yes, I can.
Okay, sorry, I was actually muted in the in Zoom, so hopefully I should be all set. I'm also calling in on the app too, but I'll have my phone going to talk through.
Sounds good. Whoops, what happened? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Hello.
Yeah. Do we have a guest
Okay.
tonight? Are you a guest, sir?
We are. Yep.
For which application?
We're 5265 Mentat Drive, the storage barn.
Okay. You are muted, sir. Mr. Brovis, you're muted.
Now I'm unmuted.
Okay.
Hi.
In case you have something really important to say. I'm
Yeah,
sure you do.
beautiful day out here in Canandaigua.
It is. It's been nice. I've enjoyed the overcastness actually from the hot sun of the last
Yeah.
summer.
So we're out at our existing lake house on in Naples, South Bristol, actually.
Well, I'm sure it's pleasant on Menteith
Yes.
too.
Yes.
I used to live on the creek there at Menteith.
You're kidding? Really?
Yeah. That's my home ground for about 17 years. Yeah.
Really? So whereabouts? Across
You
the
know
street?
where the Shotlands built the new house there by the waterfall?
Yeah, the barn. Yep.
Yeah, that is where we lived.
Oh, wow.
So are you related to the Mees?
No, we're not related.
Okay,
We're close friends.
gotcha. Beautiful. We just had dinner out there the other night. It's such a beautiful property.
It is. It's
In that
lovely.
falls, really something.
Oh yeah.
I've never seen it in the springtime. I guess it's
It can be overpowering.
yeah. So do you live, where do you live now?
County Road 32.
Uh-huh.
County Road 32.
Yeah.
It's out about 4 or 5 miles.
Yeah, yeah.
Good evening, Pat. Pat, you're, oh, there you go.
Here I am.
Okay, good. Eric, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay.
I'll be right back, though.
Sure. Sarah Linda, you're muted. Hi, Gary. You're muted, Gary.
Now I'm unmuted.
Thank you. We do have a quorum, but it's not quite 4:30. So we'll start in just a minute or two.
Joyce, did you get my text a few minutes ago?
No?
Okay, I sent you a text asking if we could put on the agenda a discussion of whether or not to meet in person for future meetings. I didn't realize it until this week, but that is actually permitted in town hall.
It is. Okay, we'll talk about that.
Okay.
I'm back.
Okay. Kim is not with us tonight. She's out of town, so we're just waiting for Edith, I think. Yeah.
Mhm.
And yeah.
Yes.
Is 506-65587.
That's Justin. That's Justin's on his computer and his phone.
My phone, okay.
Okay, I have 4:30. The Town of Canandaigua Environmental Conservation Board meeting is now in session. Oh, hi, Edith. She's connecting.
Yep.
Edith, you're muted. You're muted.
No.
There you go. Okay, thanks. We just started our meeting, Edith. Just to let you all know that Kim will not be with us tonight. She is out of town. Also, John, our secretary, is not going to be with us either tonight. He is having, yes, he's having a surgical procedure and he will not be working in the town for a couple of weeks. So I've missed him already ever since he was gone 2 days ago.
Sure.
So tonight, our recording secretary will either be Eric or Rebecca. This meeting is being recorded and the minutes will be done, Eric, I guess, by the both of you, or you'll decide who's going to be the recording secretary. And make
Yeah,
sure.
it'll be Rebecca. I'll help her out.
Okay, then she needs to be recorded on the minutes as our recording secretary for this evening. Okay, we do have a couple of guests tonight. The Mr. and Mrs. Brovitz are with us regarding their application on Menteith Point, and also Evan Gaffel is here with Costitch Engineering, who is representing that application, and we will get to them in just a minute. I think we'll rearrange our agenda tonight so that we can take that article in before we do much of anything else. I would just like to have an approval of the minutes, and then we'll move into our other business. Approval of the minutes of July 2nd. Are there any edits? Any corrections? Okay, may I have a motion, please, to approve the minutes of July 2nd, 2020?
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
That was Edith with the motion approval, and who was second?
Hey, Pat.
Okay, and Pat. We have to speak up now because John knows our voices, but
Sorry, okay.
Rebecca doesn't.
All
So,
right.
all right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Aye.
The minutes are approved. Okay, well, why don't we just start then with the application. It's CPN 20-055, since we have our guests here tonight. I'm sure they don't want to stay through our whole meeting, so we can take them first. Uh-oh, something is happening to my screen. It is gone.
Mine has gone to Encore.
Eric, was that you? Did you do that? Because I was looking at Encore today too. I don't know if that screen was still up for
Yes,
me.
I was too, but
Yeah, I
Did you do
started
that,
sharing
Eric?
my screen
Okay,
now.
all right. All right, well, let's just introduce Mr. and Mrs. Brovitz and Evan, and thank them for being with us tonight and help us to understand their application. And Eric, you're on. Go ahead.
Well, I'll turn it over to Evan and the Brovitz. They can explain the application better than I can.
Okay.
Sure. So we were in last year. The current residence is approved and being constructed. And the application now in front of us is to demo the existing 330 square foot garage and replace it with a 2-story, 450 square foot storage barn. So the building, the previous existing garage is kind of non-conforming. It needed, a bunch of variances were granted. We're staying within those granted variances, and that's how we came up with the size and the location, so that we didn't really trigger any other new variances. The only one that we need is the height. Removing the existing structure and adding the new structure, we still fall in the both the building coverage under the 15% and the lot coverage were under the 25%. The total area of disturbance is around 4,300 square feet. The project is, the finished floor will be set at 694, which will be a little higher than what's out there now because of the town code to be 2 feet above the floodplain. And then going more towards the building is going to match the house. It's going to be a hardy board up top siding with a natural stone on the bottom, and then an asphalt roof. And everything is going to be coherent with the primary structure that's being constructed now. Other than that, we're really, just realigning the driveway slightly to accommodate, the shape. Other than that, I think that's pretty much a general overview. The downspouts on the structure will be on splash blocks, and we've looked at how that's addressed after the splash blocks. There's a berm that runs along Menteith Creek. So the area of travel, or the distance of travel, will go basically north-south, kind of where, yep, right in there, Eric. So any sediment coming off the roof, which should be pretty minimal, will have a chance to fall out or dissipate into the lawn area. Other than that, that's a general overview of what we're doing. And if you have any questions, we can answer them.
Does the existing garage show up on the Encore site? Can we take a look at that? Where it's located?
Eric, is your screen flashing on and off? Mine's flashing on and off, and I really can't see the site plan. Okay.
Mine isn't. Is everybody else having that issue?
Is anybody else having the issue? It's flashing.
Mine's working great.
Okay, so it's me. I have no idea what I could do to fix it. So, all right.
But Gary, to your question, it's tough to see, but it would be tucked
Okay.
in this
Alright.
area there, essentially.
Covered by trees.
Yeah, we show it on the demo plan if that would help.
Yeah. Well, let me see if I can grab a pictometry image of it.
I have nothing on my screen now, so, anyway.
It's right there.
Yeah, that's good.
Pretty earth toned.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, for sure. I see it now. Okay. So Menteth Creek is a Category C trout stream, one of the few in the town. Are there any special provisions which need to be taken when building or doing any construction near such a waterway?
Eric, would you like to answer that question?
My understanding is no. They're not doing any work within the stream, so I don't think that they are required to do anything special. Evan, feel free to chime in, but that's,
Yeah, I mean,
even
there's
doing
no,
out last year, there was nothing really needed to be done.
yeah, no work within the stream or the stream bank, you know, outside of that.
Any other questions? Sarah Linda has prepared a report for the board. I think it might be appropriate now for Sarah Linda to take us through that report, and there might be some questions for us after that. And certainly the Brovitzes might have questions, and Evan too. Okay, Sarah Linda, do you want to take us through it then?
Sure. Do the board members have a copy of this draft?
No.
Yes, okay, there it is.
But-
So first I'll, as a matter of disclosure, I have an ownership interest in the property immediately across the brook from this to the south. It's a family-owned property. So I've taken an interest in this, the ongoing redevelopment story for this parcel, which has happened over 5 or 6 years now. This is a modification to the already approved redevelopment of the site, as Eric described. The existing garage is just about on top of the corner of the property. It's less than a foot from the north side as well as the west side. So it's back in the corner, and that's the reason for the required variances. So this new building will be set back about 5 feet from the corner in both directions, which is obviously a positive thing. As Eric said, there are 4 variances required. 3 of them were already approved as part of a proposal by a prior owner who wanted to, just like this, rebuild and expand the garage. That project never happened, but the variances were approved. And I guess the town has the policy that once a variance is approved, it applies even to a future owner. The 4th variance is the height. For an accessory structure, which is what this is, 16 feet is the allowed maximum, and they're proposing a building which is 22 feet, which is, you know, you more or less need to have a 2-story structure. There are a couple of other accessory structures on the 2 parcels to the north of this. They both have essentially 2-story garages, although in one case, the garage was added to was made into part of the main building by connecting it through a breezeway. So technically it's not an accessory structure anymore, but it really, you know, originally was. So I think the character of the garage is pretty consistent with the rest of the neighborhood. In terms of the environmental effects, the slab of this storage building is going to be about 2 feet above where grade is now. So they're going to be bringing in fill to raise grade there. And they don't seem to be raising it any more than they have to. It's going to slope off pretty sharply around 3 sides of the building. but the driveway will have to extend out farther in order to drive up into the building. So that also is consistent with what they're doing with the rest of the site. There's been a lot of fill that's come in to raise the first floor of the building up to the 694 level. And we talked about this at the time when the original house, the earlier house, was proposed, and then again for this house. And Chris Jensen has made a determination that this is okay as far as the floodplain administration rules are concerned. Even though if you raise it, the natural concern would be, well, where does that water go that used to be in that area? It's going to go elsewhere. It's going to go elsewhere on the site. It's going to go back into the stream or on the properties to the north. But according to Chris, that's okay because Menteith Creek does not have a flood plan of its own. The flood and any changes on this site that result from raising the grade will have a negligible effect on the lake level itself. So therefore, it's okay. So he's the floodplain administrator. I don't think we have much choice but to go along with his reading on this. So overall, that's the summary of key points. Under environmental concerns, I'm saying the increase in size will raise the building coverage to 9.6 while 15% is permitted. Will raise the lot coverage to 22.5% while 25 is permitted. So it's within the town's guidelines. And the creation of a raised pad for the storage building at 694 will cause floodwaters above the existing elevation of 692 to be displaced to other areas of the site or adjacent parcels. This is also true of the main house. The local floodplain administrator has approved this in the case of the main house and will make a determination on this accessory structure proposal for compliance with local and federal floodplain laws. So the proposed recommendation is ECB recommends replacement on the site of any trees removed as a result of the work. Overall development plan includes extensive new landscaping, so this may already be addressed. The proposed replacement structure appears to be consistent with the overall site redevelopment and the surrounding properties. I didn't mention the trees, but on the site plan, there are, I think, 3 trees that are proposed to come down that are in the area where that's not driveway now, but they're close to the driveway, and the new driveway will go through that area. So those trees are going to come out. But there's a lot of new tree work that's proposed around the main house. And I didn't look back at their landscape plan, but it may include some new trees back in this corner of the site as well.
I think we talked about one iteration of this development about those trees in the circle of the driveway that's closest, of course, to the garage or the accessory structure. And I think that we did talk about that at one time. I don't remember with which applicant, howsoever. So that's our report. Do any of our members have any questions or additions or any edits to the advisory report? That this is our advisory report that we will be sending to the planning board and to the ZBA. Do we have any additions? Nothing? Okay, Evan or the Brovitz, do you have any questions for us?
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
No.
We appreciate your attention to the details that you've offered, and hopefully it will be a beautiful development, redevelopment.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Working hard at it.
Good. All right. That is all then for this application. I think we'll just go back, if the Brovitz, if you're going to stay on, we're going to go back to our regular agenda. And if not, we'll have a great fall, and I'm sure we'll see you around town.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
thank you very
Have
much.
a great weekend, holiday weekend.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, just to let everybody know, my screen is now blank completely, so I have no visuals. So if you're, well, that's just the way it is. So let's go back to our agenda. And Eric, I don't know, you'll just have to bring up the agenda or whatever, and we'll have to follow along with that since I can't see what's going on there. Okay, so we approved the minutes, and now we've got the report of the Development Office. I would just like, before Eric gives us a report, I would just like to bring up one issue with the training credits. Eric, I know that we talked about bringing up Gary's spreadsheet totals today, but I know that you did that because I could see that something was being done, but I could not bring up on the board site the amended spreadsheet. So I don't know.
I updated it on the M drive, but
Oh.
I don't believe I updated it on the board site.
Okay, so you might want to do that just because it's usually anyway where I get my information regarding the spreadsheet. One other thing that I'd like to discuss with Gary, when I was talking with Eric to update that spreadsheet, I noticed that you had at least 20 trainings that you attended and vetted in order to give us a list that actually went on our ECB webpage. And here's the thing. If we give you all the credits right now, we will not be able to go over into the next year with additional credits. Okay, so you can't carry them over into the next year. So basically you have about 20 credits right now, training credits with all the work that you did. My suggestion, and you can let us know right now what you prefer, is to give you about 12 credits, which will take care of the 12 credits that you need to have for the first year. And then in January, to go ahead and put the rest of those, they're all the other webinars that are remaining are all invasive, aquatic invasives. There's about 6 or 7 of those there. If we wait until January to add those to your spreadsheet, then you will have fulfilled your 4 training credits for 2021. Does that sound like anything that would appeal to you, or
Sure.
how do you?
That sounds fine.
Does that sound okay?
Absolutely.
You've put so many hours into this. It's way more, I know, than just looking 20 hours. I know that you put a lot more hours into that, and I want to make sure that you have the credit that you deserve for it. But I just thought maybe you would appreciate, or maybe it would work for you if we just kind of split them up for this year and then put the other ones on for next year.
Sounds good.
Okay, we'll do it that way then. Eric, we'll accomplish that, and I'll leave a message for, I'll talk to John about it, or we can talk to John about it and see what, but we'll do the spreadsheet in January. I just want to make sure that we don't forget to do about it, when January comes here. Okay, thank you very much, Gary, for all your hard work. Okay, report of the Development Office. Eric.
Okay, so go over the previous applications real quickly. The LAM application was conditionally approved by the planning board. There wasn't a ton of changes or special conditions really the planning board put on. They reviewed the shoreline development guidelines, and there's some pretty substantial tree cover or trees on that lot, and it provides some good screening and whatnot. The Knapp Road application for subdivision was approved. You'll probably, or we'll be discussing the site plan for that tonight, but they approved that one conditionally. And then the Dolac property on Middle Cheshire, or just off Middle Cheshire Road, flag lot. I believe one of the key comments from the ECB was to move the property to the west.
The home, yeah.
The applicant, right, excuse me. The applicant and the planning board determined not to do that, essentially because the easement for view shed is right there. That's the reason the house was put where it was. so that they can take advantage of what is on that property. So that house was approved. As far as the comp plan update, Joyce, were you on that email that I sent out last week?
Yes,
So I'm in the process of essentially reformatting the draft that we have into a more finalized version. It's not substantial as far as changes go. It's just time consuming. So I'm in the process of doing that. I'm about halfway done or so, maybe a little bit more than halfway. But we're working on it. That's got to finalize that before we start kind of holding the final public hearings on that one. The project team will have to hold the public hearing once they're satisfied with it, and then the town board will do likewise. The Middle Cheshire Road Corridor Study had a meeting on in the middle of August, I can't remember the exact date. I think they were a little dissatisfied with the turnout at that meeting. They got some input, but they're preparing a survey that will provide more opportunity for the public to add input there. I think that not having it at the hospital probably hurt a little bit. It would have been a nice central location, but the hospital said no as far as having it there. Hopefully we'll get good turnout for the survey. And then on Tuesday, there's a corridor study of 332 and Route 96 in the town of Farmington and partially in the town of Canandaigua. They held a workshop along the Auburn Trail and also a walking tour of 332, pretty much where it intersects with 96. I was not able to attend that, but we're waiting for essentially comments. Bergman's done it, so they'll follow up with minutes of the meeting or comments, everything received. That's it, I think, right now for the development office, unless Joyce or anybody else has anything they want to add.
Just maybe one mention that Michelle is off on a medical leave for 6 weeks, so Eric is by himself. I know he has lots of help and support from other staff members at Town Hall, but that's just FYI for us for the next 6 weeks. So if you're trying to get a hold of somebody in the office there, be patient. It's just Eric.
Thanks, Joyce.
Okay. All right. So referrals, no referrals from the CIC, referrals from the Ordinance Committee. Eric, you're on again.
Just pulling it up. So this local law came about because the zoning board has seen a number of applications in the last few years for pools, or maybe more specifically spas, hot tubs, within the rear yard of lots in the RLD. They wanted the ordinance committee to take a look at it and try to find a way to codify when they should be allowed, spas or pools, because the zoning board had granted them a couple times anyways, and they didn't want to set precedent or begin kind of setting precedent. They felt it was appropriate for the town to change the zoning code. So the ordinance committee reviewed it. Essentially, we discussed for a while what the code should read. Should it say, that landscaping has to be provided to buffer it? There's no try to get into all these kind of circumstantial elements, but because of how difficult it is to provide code around those, which can sometimes end up very subjective, the ordinance committee kind of came to the conclusion that if it's in ground, the spa, that it would be not visible essentially from the lake. I think the code defines in ground as nothing more than a foot or so being above grade. So if it's an in-ground pool, that it would be allowed within the RLD in the rear yard. Not in the front yard still, but in the rear or side yard. That is kind of the big change, I suppose, in this. And then also, if the lot does not join the lake, you may have a above-ground swimming pool in the rear or side yard. So that's in the RLD for lots not adjoining Canandaigua Lake. And that is it for this one.
Are there any questions from the board members regarding this? Unfortunately, this draft code was not on our board site. So July, kind of forgot exactly what it was all about. So I'm not, are we confident that we do not need to see this again, or that we want to see it again because we haven't had an opportunity to see it recently? Let's put it that way. Any comments about that?
I saw a section that discussed draining the pools. It went by more quickly than I could read it. I would like to look. Thank you.
Is that in the law itself, Eric? I
Yes,
can't.
yes. It's actually in existing code, except that right now it reads, it relates solely to hot tubs, where this broadens that to swimming pools.
Mm-hmm. Well, the caution for swimming pools is that they're, in general, the water is chlorinated, and unless there is something to neutralize that, or the water has been exposed for a good deal of time, the chlorine will kill the grass if it goes onto the lawn. And it's would certainly be detrimental to a stream or anything like that. So, certainly there ought to be some education about that for anyone who's proposing it.
And on the ECB webpage, we do have an article regarding how to drain a pool. Okay,
Certainly accompany anyone who gets.
So maybe we would suggest to the ordinance committee to review those criteria for healthfully emptying your pool, and maybe make some kind of inclusion in there about that. I don't know how the ordinance committee would want to frame it, but either to refer to that.
What is missing right now? I mean, this says essentially that you can't drain it to neighboring properties or the lake. I think the intent essentially is that it would drain mostly into like a sewer or something like that.
Storm drain? Well, storm drains go to the lake, or they go to the streams that go to the lake.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there is no sewer on a fair number of these lakefront properties. So what are they supposed to do?
You can neutralize chlorine, and that should be done. Or if the water sits for a good long time, the chlorine will eventually evaporate. But it is of concern. Storm drains don't go any place except to the nearest waterway.
Mm-hmm.
And to put large amounts of chlorine into a septic system is not recommended either.
No.
Yeah, right.
No, and besides which, the volume of water would just blow your pipes right out of the ground, so.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, Eric, well, those seem to be some of the concerns that we have with this code. If it's not clarified how they're supposed to empty it, it may be an environmental impact that we haven't foreseen. So those comments, I guess, would, in our minutes, they would go back to the ordinance committee. So I'll leave it to you to fashion how that, with the comments that we've made, what that report would look like for the ordinance committee.
Joyce, I have another question about this. It's not clear to me what the change is here. I mean, were swimming pools not permitted before? And so if somebody wanted one, they had to have a variance, and now we're allowing them? Or what's new about this?
Eric?
Oh, I'm gonna pull up the existing section right now.
Lumping everything together as a pool. Not separating out the hot tubs and other spas.
As it reads right now, it says hot tubs. So hot tubs are swimming pools, as defined in Chapter 1, but they aren't necessarily in-ground swimming pools. So this kind of changes that to include them into in-ground swimming pools, and then also to say in-ground swimming pools are allowed within that district.
And it says they're only in the side yard or the rear yard. And in the case of lakefront properties, the rear yard is between the house and the lake, correct?
Right. The existing code, so it's only in the side yard of a lot or rear if not adjoining Canandaigua Lake.
Oh, I see. Okay, so if you are adjoining Canandaigua and you want to have a hot tub, you have to have it in the side yard? Is that what this is saying? You can't have it in the front yard, which is the other side from the lake. You have to have it in the side yard? Is that what's going on?
If you're proposing an in-ground hot tub, it would have to be in the side yard. If you're proposing an above-ground hot tub, that could be in the rear yard today.
Okay, and is that changing with this new law, or are we keeping that same standard?
Yes, that's changing. So it will become, or it would become, that if it's an in-ground hot tub, it would be allowed in the side and rear yard. If it's above ground, it wouldn't be allowed in the rear yard, but you could still have it in the side yard.
Okay. That sounds better.
This is true of a hot tub as well as a in-ground pool, right?
Yeah.
So in other words,
so a hot tub is a pool, or swimming pool includes hot tub, it's within that definition. And then you can have an in-ground swimming pool or an above-ground swimming pool. So hot tubs can be in-ground or above ground by that same measure. So if it's an in-ground swimming pool, it's kind of changing. If it's an above ground, it's not really so much.
so where are above ground pools permitted?
Right now, they're not permitted at all in the RLD.
And with the new law?
They are opposite the lake, or for a lot not adjoining Canandaigua Lake.
So you cannot have an above ground pool on a lakefront property. That's what you're saying?
It's kind of how the code reads.
And there's no change? That's the way it is now, and that's the new law?
No, right now the code doesn't provide anything about above ground swimming pools. It has a spot about hot tubs, although it doesn't really say where you can place them. Shall conform to the provisions set forth for swimming pools in this chapter. So, I guess it would be that they have to meet the requirements for in-ground swimming pools. So right now, there's no provisions for above-ground swimming pools in the RLD. This provides that if they're not adjoining Canning Lake.
If the lot is not adjoining Canandaigua Lake, or just if the pool is not on the lake side of the building?
I believe it's the lot. For each lot not adjoining Canning Lake.
For each lot, okay. And what about an above-ground hot tub?
In the side yard only, right?
For a lot adjoining Canning Lake, not adjoining Canning Lake?
Well, either one.
If it is adjoining Canning Lake, it would be no. Although I guess we can change that. We could add something quickly, but for a lot not adjoining Canning Lake, yes, in the rear or side yard.
So you're saying you can't have a hot tub on a property next to Canandaigua Lake?
Right now, or with this proposed change?
Well, either one. I mean, there are a lot of people with hot tubs right now. I don't think they'll understand why they're suddenly being made illegal.
Yeah, I agree. As I'm discussing this with you, I see that should be added back, or probably should be added back. Right now, you would be allowed it. It has to meet the provisions for swimming pools in this chapter, so a hot tub, if it meets the requirements for like an in-ground swimming pool. So it can be in the rear or side yard if the lot doesn't adjoin Canning Lake. Again, this is how it exists today. Or the side yard if it adjoins Canning Lake. The new code removed that, but as I said, should probably add it back with this same language. Probably somewhere in here. It would probably take this out or bring this back. Hot tubs shall conform to the provisions set forth for swimming pools in this chapter. So if it's an above ground swimming pool, so if it's a hot tub, it's above ground. We'll have to change it. Sarah Linda, that's a good question. We'll add it back.
Okay, so do we want to, so then making these changes, are you suggesting then that it'll go back to the ordinance committee and then it will come back, be referred to us again when you've made these changes, and so that we can review that? And then the ordinance committee will take a look at our recommendations regarding emptying the pool and
barring substantial changes, it will go to the town board. When they refer it out to all the boards, which is their practice as well, you would see it then.
Okay,
If
all right.
there is substantial changes, it would be referred back.
Okay. Sarah Linda, did you have any more questions? I'm sorry, I think I might have cut you off there.
Well, I don't feel like I have a really very, very good grasp of what's going on here. And I mean, maybe it could just be simplified by saying all hot tubs shall meet the same requirements as a swimming pool, whether they're above ground or in ground. And then you could eliminate all these categories, but maybe that's not the intention. It's not clear to me.
Whatever change we do propose, which again, I think that we should have something in there for above ground hot tubs, it will certainly be as simple as we can possibly make it.
That sounds good to me.
Okay, we'll get a chance to see it again when it goes to the town board. I'm sure they'll refer it back out to us. Okay, the next referral is the stream protection, chapter 220-9, the watercourse protection. Eric, want to take us through it?
Pretty simple change. We had an applicant in our office pretty recently, and he was going to build a pole barn, and it was just near Knott Road in the intersection of 21, and I denied the application initially because it's within 100 feet of a stream. And he said, well, that stream doesn't flow 6 months out of the year. And we got into a discussion about it, and I reversed my determination, felt that it was correct that the town doesn't have that information. What water course or streams flow on average 6 months out of the year. That would require multi-year tracking of the streams within the town to find that average. The town has not done that. I contacted the DEC, I contacted Kevin Mulvaney to see if either of them had that information, but neither of them did. Kevin told me that he hates that 6 month out of the year stuff and has been wanting to remove it. So we're trying to clarify this to do what essentially our intent has been to do, the streams as noted on the various maps of the town, and having a buffer from those. So with that in mind, we added a definition for protected watercourse, which, as you can read, are essentially the watercourses as noted by the New York State DEC. Those are the watercourses that show up on our stream maps and on Encore. And then the code regarding the actual setback is really just changing that stream carrying water on average 6 months of the year to protected watercourse, again, as defined by this local law.
So are you saying that streams that run 6 months out of the year as indicated on the maps will be protected or not?
In the new law, it matters not whether or not they flow 6 months out of the year, because again, we don't track that or have that information. It is only whether they're a classified stream by the New York State DEC. So all the ones that show up on that map are classified streams and would be protected with this setback or buffer.
I guess I'm thinking about an application that took place some years ago, and it's on 21. And we had a big discussion then at the planning board level regarding that 6 months running out of the year. And the zoning officer at the time did make the determination that it did for some, I don't know how, but she did. And anyway, as it turned out, that stream was although only carried at 6 months, it was totally part of the drainage system. It was something that ran into, you know how Menteith Creek runs up there past 21 and over. It was totally part of that. And I don't know really if we start doing, if we're not protecting those streams, whether landowners can go in and clear vegetation, and I don't know if it would be considered a riparian corridor or not. I think I'd like some clarification about, even though they're only running 6 months, they may be very vital to stormwater management. Do we have any evidence or any analysis of what we're actually doing when we don't protect them?
This corridor, this stream bed that you're talking about, was that a noted stream then, or this was just a?
Well, you know, that was some years ago, and I'm not quite so sure my memory is that good. All I know is that it was an integral part of the stormwater management in that area. And we had a big discussion about that, but then it was determined that because it was so vital during 6 months of the year, that it should be protected. And then the application was denied because there was the 100-foot buffer did apply. So I feel like we may be rushing to judgment here. I don't know for sure. I don't know of any facts, so I'm just talking about an incident that happened once that I'm aware of. But if landowners start, lumbering or something, taking down these banks that have carried water during storm events, are we getting ourselves into some trouble down the road regarding the consequences?
Well, I don't think this would change that at all if they're just cutting down trees or even regrading. This section relates to structures. So if they're building something there, it would. If they were just cutting or regrading, this section really wouldn't apply.
Yeah, this sounds like it's more protective for structures because you're removing that arbitrary 6 months, and basically ephemeral streams would be covered by this, which would run intermittent in the springtime. So I guess it would be more protective as a whole, correct?
I would think generally there's probably some I guess beds that carry water from time to time, probably not 6 months out of the year, but that are also not noted or protected or classified rather by the DEC.
Exactly. That's the application that I'm thinking of back then, because we had to verify that it did run 6 months out of the year. We had to get, photos and everything.
But I will say, again, it's not just carrying water 6 months of the year, it's on an average of 6 months of the year, which suggests to me that you're going to have to find that average from multiple years. It's not something that the town tracks. If I was to make a determination on that, generally I would say I can't.
Yeah, I understand. I understand the predicament that we're in. I'm just worried about the consequences if these maybe aren't treated, I don't know, either individually or something.
Does that classification include ephemeral streams, the AA, the AA? I guess these are streams that do flow year-round, presumably.
I think the larger ones like AA and certainly trout streams would.
Right.
Most ones in the town are Class C and D, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't necessarily flow year-round, and maybe some of them don't even flow 6 months out of the year, or carry water 6 months out of the year. But even though they're dry at great portions of the year, they're still classified as a stream.
Is there anywhere in this code which identifies or is there some reference to descriptions of an AA stream or a D stream so that people can understand what those are? Is that maybe a part of the code so people can have a reference that they can either go to, or is there some other part of this code that would indicate what those designations really would be?
No, well, it references the DEC classifications, so you can research those.
But there's nothing in the code that would direct anybody to the DEC or anything like that, right?
Other than basing it off their classifications.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Those reference it. Yes, I see you have included the D classification, so that's good. Yeah, just because it doesn't run water 6 months out of the year doesn't mean that it's not an important drainage.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
100-year flood.
Sorry,
yes.
I don't know enough, but I mean, for the state stuff, but I mean, where do vernal pools come into play for water course? Are they considered water courses in New York, or? for design purposes?
No,
I'm not,
Okay,
they're extremely important habitat, but they are given very little protection.
okay.
Okay, did you want to continue, Eric, and just take us through that last little part?
what little part?
The next preservation of natural features, is there anything important that we should know, except that just there's some changes here in the verbiage?
No, yeah, like I said, it just removes that about the average 6 months out of the year and replaces it with the term, which would now be defined as protected watercourse.
Okay. Okay, are there any more comments regarding this? Hopefully it'll be captured in the minutes. Okay. That's it then. Now we have the referrals from the PRC. Eric, you're on again. CPN 20033,
Give me
5010
1
Butler.
second.
Sure. This one's for Butler Road.
So, this application we originally received, I think back in June, Butler Road, which is down here to the south, and single-family house here. They are proposing to put in a 50 by 30 barn, pole barn, in their rear yard. So you can see there is, they call it a ditch, but it is a water course and a protected water course if we were going by the proposed local law. They are 38.1 feet away from that when 100 feet is required. So they're, again, that's pretty much it. They're proposing to put this pole barn within 100 feet of this stream. There, in your comments, Sarah Linda, you mentioned that it would be able to be, where did you put that? I thought you said somewhere that it could be placed outside of the setbacks and whatnot, which this is just a rough sketch that, you know, yes, you could put it right there if you wanted to. It's just a determination, and they're just using it for storage, essentially. Is there any comments, questions?
Is there any reason that they wanted to put it that far back and far away from the house? They had space for it where it wouldn't be so close to the creek?
I think their original application materials said they just thought it would be less obtrusive in terms of the view of the property from the street, because they've got a relatively large backyard there, and it's not a backyard that floods very often, if it has flooded at all. So, you know, they're looking at this big expanse of grass, and they're just thinking it's a good place for a barn.
What about the photos that you offered, Eric? Were those photos in the vicinity of this application? I couldn't quite tell.
Yeah. So there's Hunter's Way. This is Butler running that way, east-west. I believe the stream is kind of down this way. So it backed up. This was back in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Wait. It doesn't show kind of how far back it goes, but it did flood a bit anyways.
So we do have had recently some flooding in the area of this application, is what I'm saying. We don't know for sure if it's at this site, but it has been in that area. Would that be right?
Yeah.
I spoke to the adjacent property owner because I happen to know him, the person who has the house to the west of this, Doug Daniels. And I asked him if he had, I mean, he's owned it for 20 years or something. I asked him if he'd ever had his backyard flood, and he said no. So, I mean, that doesn't mean that it couldn't flood tomorrow. But I think that there hasn't been much of a history of flooding, at least over a few decades, on that particular parcel. But it may be that this flooding that happened in 2017 was downstream from this, and some additional drainage came in from the Fox Ridge area.
Mm-hmm.
Because that does drain a portion of that. There's a street up there called Crescent Circle. That's a dead end up there off of, I guess it's west, I can't remember. Anyway, that general area drains down into the same stream bed that this is, but farther downstream. Yeah, that thing at the top of the map is Crescent Circle.
Okay, Sarah Linda, would you like to take us through your comments?
Okay. The proposal is to build a 2-story pole barn in the rear yard of an existing home. The entire 30 by 50 building lies within the 100-foot stream setback, with the building 38.1 feet from the stream bank. Proposed use is storage. The site has mature trees and open lawn. 1 pine and 2 ash trees will be removed as part of the project. The area to the west of the barn site and across the property line is more densely wooded. And the stream extends from the west side of Middle Cheshire Road to the lake, entering the lake to the south of Saddleback Drive. The upstream watershed for this stream is limited to properties fronting on Butler Road, Middle Cheshire Road, and portions of Crescent Circle in Fox Ridge. So the information I got about this was from the open space plan map number 5, which identifies only Class C streams. So I'm kind of curious actually how where the map is that locates other class streams, the Class A, Class B, D, etc. But the only one I'm familiar with is this one that has Class C, but this is a Class C stream according to this map. But it's a relatively short one. I mean, there are lots of Class C streams that extend way up, well beyond Route 21, and certainly well beyond Middle Cheshire Road. This one is fairly short. So environmental concerns, while this does not appear to be a particularly flood-prone stream, the 100-foot stream setback is a very important regulatory element in reducing flood risk and maintaining water quality in Canandaigua Lake. Given the ongoing increase in the severity of rainstorms, even streams that have not been flood prone in the past may become problematic in the future and add to erosion runoff and nutrient loading in the lake. The town's open space plan highlights the importance of maintaining a densely planted riparian buffer and encourages the town to increase the setback to 150 feet. The recommendation, ECB suggests that the applicant reconsider the location and size of the proposed barn to eliminate construction within 100 feet of the stream. It appears that there is ample space on the site for the barn to be relocated for compliance with the required stream setback, as well as side setbacks. ECB also suggests that for any trees which are removed as part of the project, additional trees and shrubs be planted to replace them and to reinforce the protection of the stream banks. Sorry about that phone.
Yeah, I think that says everything that I would want to say in it. Do we have any other comments from the board members?
Yes, just one is that streams are dynamic. They don't stay put. When you
Mhm.
get a heavy flow, even if it's once every decade, it can change the course of the stream really quickly. And it would be for the homeowner's own protection to have it farther from the stream.
Yeah, it's interesting that, the aerial view shows that house to the west. It looks like it's 10 feet from the stream. It's very,
Yes, that's
Yeah, I
not,
noticed that too. It's a lot closer. And yet that house, they say hasn't flooded, at least in 20 years.
yeah.
Yes.
Well, you never know what's
going
going to happen though. Like Edith was saying, something could be put for 20 years, but in the 21st year, things could happen. So it is for the protection of the homeowner, actually, that I think we also are making this recommendation. Could we please add that sentence in regarding protection of the homeowner's, asset because of the movement of the way that water changes the course of streams?
they are dynamic systems. They are not stationary.
Yeah, we'll add that.
Do you have that,
And
Eric?
where they've got room for it, they might as well. take it.
Yeah,
Yeah, after the meeting,
exactly.
I'll add it.
Okay. Okay, any more comments or anything on this application? Okay, let's move to the next one, which is 20053 Station House Road.
So the existing house, what they're doing is cutting essentially this land here and this land here. The purple will be new retaining walls placed, essentially graded down. I believe this will only be a couple feet tall. They have an existing egress from the basement, like right around here, and so they're regrading, at least partly, to get better access to that. Let's see if right now it's like down a window well, which isn't great.
How did that ever get approved? I can't believe it. Oh, well, okay.
Please, I'm sure it met code at the time. Anyways,
Yes, it probably did.
And that's pretty much it. Essentially, there's no other proposed kind of improvements for it. No drainage wells or anything like that. Just a couple retaining walls and cut of the land. The soil will generally be taken off site. I think there's some small areas that'll be kind of dropped on. There's some topsoil and whatnot, but for the most part, taken off site.
Just what is the percent of slope in that area that they're excavating? Just was wondering how much topsoil they are taking, or soil. Since they're excavating 7 feet.
Sorry.
Well, with the retaining walls, the reason why I'm asking about percent of slope, they will have to comply with the steep slope law for their retaining wall. If indeed
It's
it's
about 6 change from the top, just based on this LiDAR from the top to kind of this bottom area.
What did you say? Are you talking about the percent of slope?
Well, it just said it's about 6 feet of elevation change approximately from the top corner of the wall down to like the bottom of their cut. This retaining wall changes 4 or so feet to the end to end.
Mm-hmm. But do we have a percent of slope in that area? I'm asking about its compliance with steep slope law. If we do have something, I can't tell how steep that area is, maybe 6 feet, but 6 feet, you know, how far? That's all I'm doing. Just asking that question so that we can figure out what to do with the retaining wall, if anything.
I don't know the percentage of what the Encore provides here.
Okay, is that something that you could look into and make sure that the steep slope, if it is a steep slope, you know, I think it's 10%, then there is some criteria for retaining walls. That's all I'm saying. And just making sure that that retaining wall meets those criteria.
Yep. Looking at it.
Okay. Any other questions for Eric? Okay, Sarah Lynn, do you want to take us through your report?
Okay, this is pretty straightforward. Just a repeat of what Eric said. The home has a walkout basement on the east side with grades sloping up along the north and south level basement walls. Egress is through windows and into an areaway. The proposal is to lower the grade on the north and south side of the houses enough for direct emergency egress. The maximum height of the excavation is 7 feet. Retaining walls of up to 36 inches will be incorporated. Looking at the plans, it looked like there was only one relatively small tree that's going to be affected, and the project needs to adhere to the erosion protection standards because it is all happening on a slope. So recommendation is ECB recommends that the existing tree be relocated on the site or replaced as part of a new landscape plan.
Okay, I think that the question that I had about steep slope and retaining wall, I think is kind of incorporated in the environmental concerns. So I just leave it be at that, since Eric is going to be able to just look into it, the percent of slope, to see what the retaining wall criteria will be there. Okay, any other questions from the board regarding this draft advisory report? Any changes or edits? Okay. Going on to our next CPN 20055.
We just did that one.
Oh, Menteith. Oh, that's right. Sorry. Didn't even see my big check mark here. All right. Then we're just heading over to Knapp Road. $20,056.
So this is the property that was subdivided or got conditional approval to subdivide last week or the week prior. They are proposing a new house on it. Right there. This, if you remember, there's some steep slopes on the lot, kind of back here, and actually they'll call it out in sheet 1, and also a stream back here. So they are proposing to build in the flattest part of the lot. There's an existing driveway, building a new house here, and a new septic system kind of up front toward Knapp Road. That's it. House in the R3.
Any questions from the board? Okay, Sarah Linda, want to take us through your draft report?
This is the easternmost one of the lots in the 3-lot subdivision that we looked at last month. It's about just under 11 acres, 258 feet of road frontage. It has an existing gravel drive and shed. The shed will be moved, the gravel drive will be retained and extended, and a portion of it paved. The rest of the site is wooded. Clearing will be limited to the immediate area around the house and the proposed septic system. Last month, we did recommend that the conservation easement team talk with the owners here about the possibility of putting a conservation easement on the wooded area. Haven't heard anything about how that came out or whether it happened. But I don't see any particular environmental concerns on this. I think our consensus last time was that there would be no ill effects of subdividing this and developing it for single family homes as long as the home's stuck pretty close to the road, and that's what's happening here. So this parcel maintains the intact forest land through the great majority of the site. So my recommendation is approval.
Okay, any questions regarding the advisory report? Do we want to make another, has it come to the planning board the last time about, and did the planning board say anything about our recommendation for a conservation easement, or did our recommendation go to the conservation easement committee?
To my knowledge, the conservation easement team hasn't met in quite a while. I know they're preparing to meet again, so they haven't really discussed it or anything. The planning board did talk about it. I believe they felt that because of what was going on, that essentially that lot couldn't be subdivided any further. You know, it doesn't meet the lot cover or the lot width requirements or whatever. If it were to be subdivided further, that it was kind of unnecessary. It couldn't be greater developed largely further than a single family home or whatever. So they didn't feel it was necessary to have a conservation easement.
Okay. Any more than questions regarding this application? Okay, then we'll send our draft report to the planning board. And finally on our list is CPN 20058, and this is La Crosse Circle at Fox Ridge. Eric?
Yep, one second.
I'm sorry, I can't see a thing, so my screen's blank. It's a pretty blue, but that's all.
So, Fox Ridge, we're hopefully coming to the conclusion of this development. It's just about all.
Oh, come on now. This is like an old friend, you know, that keeps us company.
We're all very familiar with it by this point. So La Crosse Circle currently has 6 lots on it. I believe there's 4 or 5 homes there. They're all getting built out. Anyways, so this will be an extension of La Crosse Circle to finish out that phase, 5B3, before 12 lots. Sorry. You know, cul-de-sac, 12 lots off it, portion of it. This land over here to the east will be annexed over into Anthony Venezia's parcel, which exists currently, and I believe he has a permit, or will have a permit soon to start building his house back there. Sorry, next page. There'll be a swale kind of running behind the properties to catch drainage and direct it to the various inlets, one down here, so carry it down, or at least from there, carry it down. And then this will drain to the north. That's kind of it. I mean, it keeps in line with the previous approvals. There will be sidewalks there, lighting, I believe, right around here. And then with all the other restrictions of Fox Ridge and the HOA that gotta be built like that. So it's just finishing up Fox Ridge 5B3.
Okay, any questions from the board for Eric?
Eric, do we have access to the original subdivision plan for this area? Was there an original subdivision plan and this is a change?
Well, like the one from the 80s, like the original, or the last revised one?
Well, just give us a little background on this. I mean, we're approving a re-subdivision. What was the old one that we're changing?
Well, it's, is there some, this one isn't a re-subdivision. This is a final subdivision. So it was, it got preliminary approval. And I can kind of show you. The plans are pretty much the same as what was preliminary approved. Just generally, preliminary approval is kind of more concept-based, conceptual. And then when they come in for final subdivision, they, that's when the lots are actually created and they have the approval to build it. The preliminary approval just kind of allows the board to make a determination on the entirety of and the entire scope of the proposed development, generally for like secret purposes. So they did all that way back in the 80s originally, and it's been kind of amended a number of times since then. Most recently amended just last year, although only slightly last year. But so they're coming in now for, again, that final subdivision to actually create the lots, which don't exist currently today. It's just one big lot. And so that Gerber, I believe it is, can go out there and pull permits to build those 12 homes.
So this has always been a 12 lot designation for this section? There isn't a change in the density, in other words, that's my question.
No. Well, no, there isn't. I mean, it was originally approved as a conservation subdivision, so that's always, the same density that the other underlying zoning would allow. So it's never more dense, but it is developed in a different fashion. It is probably less dense, actually, than what the preliminary approval has granted them in the past. So I think previously when they started the Phase 5B, which included 5B 1, 2, 3, and 4, they were allowed something like 28 lots. All told now they're doing what? 10, 11, 23. So they're doing less than what they were originally approved for preliminarily for phases 5B.
I wasn't aware that Fox Ridge was a conservation subdivision, but if it is, where's the conservation land?
When it was approved in the 80s, I don't think the town had a code about conservation subdivision. It was done through town law. I think it was 281, which is like the cluster subdivision regulations. I guess, I mean, I can only say based on what we see before us that it wasn't really required to have, or it's not required to have the open space, not to the extent and design that we have today. Today we require separate open space lots, but I don't think they did back then. And in this development, there's a number of different kind of types and ideas, I guess. Like, this area on Summit View, this is all, protected open space, and it's contained on private lots, and they're not supposed to be able to touch it. And then, of course, you have Bramblewood Trail, where, these are what you might consider a conservation subdivision or cluster, more so today, and, the protected land around it. So it's a conservation subdivision to a degree, but it didn't have the same requirements as it might if it was approved today.
Back a few generations of this, that the conservation easement was already granted to the town because, of the way 281 was interpreted or whatever. So that conservation lands are there. I don't have any, the site plan in front of me, so I can't really tell you exactly where that was or is, but the town has a conservation easement in there somewhere.
Yeah, for phases 5B, it's contained within 5B1, which covers a lot of Mr. Venezia's lot, as well as now the 2 other lots to the south of that. So those are lots coming off Lake Breeze Way.
Yeah. So that was attempted and negotiated so long time ago. Pat, you probably have more information on that timing of all of that, but the town does have a conservation easement on that in that subdivision.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Nothing? Okay, Sarah Linda, how about taking us through your advisory report?
Okay, this is we'll call it the final version of the originally approved site layout for section 5B3 of the Fox Ridge subdivision. The site has already been cleared of major vegetation. There are 2 relatively small areas of steep slopes, one in the northeast corner, which is lots 8 and 9, and one in the southernmost part of the parcel, lot 12. City water main runs north-south through the parcel, and the lot boundaries and house sites have been adjusted to accommodate the easement for the water main. The site generally slopes down to the south and then southeast and southwest from La Crosse Circle. Lot 7 is the high point. Surrounding properties are Fox Ridge homes on the south, Middle Cheshire Road homes on the west, and the DAGR wooded parcel on the east, and an open lawn on the north, which is part of homes fronting on Middle Cheshire Road. A grading and landscape plan would be helpful for understanding the proposed grading and treatment of the center area of the large cul-de-sac. It is a pretty big expanse there in the middle of the road turnaround. Environmental concerns. The land was cleared for development over a decade ago and contains no significant natural resources other than slopes and a swale. It offers an opportunity for implementing best practices in stormwater retention at the cul-de-sac center and also at the swale at the site's low point. PCB encourages incorporating stormwater retention and infiltration measures such as bioswales and rain gardens where appropriate on the site.
Sounds most appropriate. Any questions from the board regarding the advisory report? Okay, then I guess it goes to the planning board.
Excellent job, Sarah Linda.
Yes, thank you, Sarah Linda, so much for all the work that you do getting these reports together for us. Believe me, I know it's a lot of work. Okay, we're into old business. The town newsletter for September. If you received the town newsletter last week, was it? No, it was this week, wasn't it? It was the first that it was published. And Sarah Linda did a really nice article for us regarding the blue-green algae, the HABs report, the condition of the lake now, and it was very informative. Liked it a lot. In October, Kim had signed up to do an article in October. However, we never did really figure on a topic for that. I don't know what to do about that since she's not here. I did send her an email and ask if she had any thoughts about that article and, you know, whether she was still able to comply, and I haven't received anything back from her, but I will certainly be following through with this next week. And do we have anything that it's on our minds right now besides, we had a nice article regarding the gypsy moth, which is on everybody's mind right now, in the newsletter also. Did you have anything to do with that, Gary? Or was that Sarah?
That was Sarah.
Yeah. So I need to thank her for that, for letting everybody know about the relief program and that webinar coming up shortly. I think it's September 23rd. If you need some credits, there's a couple of you that do need credits. You still need your 4 credits. We've got 3 or 4 months left here. You might want to take advantage of that presentation. I think it'd be very interesting. And so October is open. We know it'll be filled somehow. I don't know how, what, where, or whatever, but it's going to be filled.
Well, it's October, we should do bats.
Okay. Bats. I will talk to, if you can give us any links or anything like that to any kind of research about bats, that would be great. I don't know what Kim has in mind. We had kind of talked about conservation easements as being something that we could open up again because it's part of our implementation table for our open space responsibilities. And we hadn't done too much on that for this year. But bats, we haven't done anything with bats either. So that's a really good one. I like that one.
We can advocate bat houses to help get rid of the mosquitoes. Yes.
All right. Well, if you could let me, if you know any research that, or articles that are already, that was something we could pick up and just kind of remake for ourselves, that would be great. And I will get with Kim and see what her preferences are with this and how.
Well, I was really mostly just joking because of Halloween, of course, but.
Well, that is a good, we haven't done bats. They are very beneficial to our environment.
Yes, they are.
Maybe October is the perfect thing for something like this. Yeah, thank you for that. I think that's pretty clever. Okay, in November, nobody signed up for November. So if anybody's got a topic that they'd love to talk about for November and you would like to sign up for another, I think hasn't everybody now had an opportunity to provide a newsletter article? I think we all have.
I have not, but be happy to come up with something for November.
All right. Gee, that's great. Just let me know what it is and we can talk about it and I can work with the deadlines and everything and let you know how the process flows. Thank you, Gary. And then we have December. We don't have to do anything about that right now, but speaking about December, we also, talking about the display case, December would be a nice time, or November, somewhere in that, to change our display case to something of a winter theme. Right now it's invasive species. By October, everything is going to be not looking the same as it did during the summer. So maybe we could do a winter theme. And my big winter theme is always, since I saw this in the Conservationist magazine from the DEC, it is about animal tracks. And I think that and the display case, doing something about animal tracks might be very appropriate. And of course the kids would love it. And we could put something like this on the kids page. I think there's already something about animal tracks there, but so that's an idea.
Yes, it would be good fun.
It would be fun. It would be fun. And then our display case would be running for winter, would be November, December, January, February. Then in March, we could switch to a spring, if we're still going to be doing display case. Since Michelle is out for 6 weeks, I'm just supposing that she's probably not thinking about the display case. Unless you are, Eric, we could just change that display there and I'd call on you, Edith, to help me out with that.
Okay.
Or anybody else who wants to work on a winter display case, please raise your hand. I can't see you, so you'll have to tell me who you are or let me know. Okay, and then there's December. Maybe we can figure out December at our next meeting in October. We might, unless we want to do the December thing with the tracks, just animals in general during the winter, maybe. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Okay, our next bullet point here is the information session with the code enforcement officer. I did try to get a hold of Chris recently in the last couple of weeks, and I haven't had any response. The planning department is very busy now with lack of personnel. So I'm just feeling like Chris is probably very, very busy and probably could care less, or not care less, but probably not really into, doing additional work. We will have an MS4 program. We just don't know when. So we're going to take that off our agenda, and we'll just put it in the back of our file folder and make sure that that's something that we attend to maybe during 2021. Just to let you know that the Ontario County Planning Department did send out the training video that Edith and Sarah put together for the invasive species. If you haven't seen it yet, it was sent to you during the month when it was finished. So it's going out to all of the highway departments and the town clerks, I think, in the various municipalities in the county. Thank Edith once again for all of her work on that. Okay. Anybody else have anything old business that they'd like to talk about?
Joyce, with your, you've got these proposed trainings in here. We talked about having a training by Barb Johnston, maybe, about, how to make use of her new model for reviewing projects.
I do have a note about that. We had talked about that with Sarah regarding that, and it was recommended by staff that we wait until after the town board has approved the NRI. So the town is going on the town's board agenda on their September 28th meeting, and that they will set the public hearing at that date. So the next month they'll come back at the public hearing, and then they'll probably will pass. Well, they'll do whatever they're going to do to it, and once it's approved, then we're going to set up a training, and that training may be not just for us, it may be for all the boards. So that's still kind of being thought through about how that's going to take place. But there is a training. We have talked to Barb about that, and she knows that the training is expected after everything is, once approved by the town board.
Okay, well, I just want to reiterate, I would like to spread the work of preparing these advisory reports among other board members rather than doing them all myself. So I'm kind of thinking of that training as a mechanism for other people as well as me. I mean, I'm not following everything that she suggests that we do either, but that would be a good opportunity for us to discuss how to get other people feeling comfortable in taking on one of these projects and writing up a summary and the recommendation.
I think that's a good idea. I think that would open up a lot of opportunities for our board for, further education and experience. But also we do need to kind of level the field here, because you've been taking this on now for at least a year and probably 2. And yeah, and we can do that now. We're sophisticated enough that and experienced enough where we can each give, try 1 or 2 or whatever it takes. Okay. Freshwater wetlands. Since the EPA has, I don't know technically a lot about what the changes are for wetlands, but I do know that a lot of them have been like deregulated. So I was talking about a few weeks ago with Colin Deal, who is a hydrologist, and he was talking about the possibility now that municipalities will have to start reinforcing, have a reinforcing regulation on their own wetlands, because the EPA, or the federal part of that, is not going to be doing that anymore, since they're going to be deregulated at the federal level. So in that conversation, I got a little concerned really about our own wetlands. And I know that we have a couple of really important wetlands, especially in the north and around our farm, around our Paddleford Greenway and other areas too in our town. But I thought we might be ready to talk about what next steps should be here for the town to consider preservation or regulation for preservation of wetlands. And I wondered what you might want to do about that. We could invite Colin in to give us a little, little talk, presentation about wetlands and their deregulation and how and what we could. He did forward to me a sample of the wetlands regulation that the town of, I think it's Summer, actually participated and actually developed a wetlands code. And it's very comprehensive. I liked it a lot. And so would that be something that we would want to take up here with us? Would we want to recommend to the ordinance committee or to the town, to whomever, about looking into a wetlands code so that that natural resource has more regulatory flavor in our code?
I would, yes, I would certainly approve of doing that.
Any other ideas about that? Anyone?
Would this be in response to the changes in EPA oversight of wetlands?
Yes.
Which might change after the election, potentially.
Which it could. It's very possible. But anyway, I just think maybe even a review of our own protections for wetlands might be in order. It's just to keep us on board with that natural resource and its protection levels. Really, if we do have a change of administration and somehow we go back to the old way, maybe we still need to look at our wetlands and make sure that they are, because those are eroding they can erode very quickly if we're really not watching them. So it would give us another kind of opportunity anyway to learn something new, I think. If you agree, then I could check in with Colin and see what he has, see if he has some time. I don't think we'd want to probably even give more than a half an hour to a presentation. And would that be all right with all of us to do that?
Certainly with me.
Anybody else? Opposed?
Great.
No.
Good idea.
Okay. All right, then I'll check with Colin, see what he has to say and see what we can do. We are going to have to start looking at the implementation table from the open space master plan. Remember, that is we followed that very faithfully last year in developing our projects plan. Well, guess what? It's coming up again this year. Our projects plan probably should be developed by November. So we'll have October and November to do that. What we need to figure out, and we'll wait until John gets back, is how do we keep track of what we've been doing for the last couple of years. So there might be some reformatting that's necessary or whatever. I'll talk with John, but you can think about that. How do we keep track of all of this stuff that we do? And so that we can tell from year to year, we're not either duplicating or we're trying something new when we said, oh, we haven't looked into this area, in the last 2 years, maybe this is a good year to do it. That's coming up. That's just a heads up that probably in October and November, we're going to be looking at the implementation table from the open space master plan. Okay, Sarah Linda, you would like to bring up something.
Yes. I wanted to suggest that in case you're not aware of it, in-person meetings are now permitted at Town Hall. So if there's a consensus among the board that we'd like to do away with these Zoom meetings, that is an option. The history team met this morning that way, and it was actually a combined meeting. Some people participated through Zoom and other people were there in person. And we met in the courtroom So there was plenty of space. Eric set up the room in such a way that everybody had an individual table, and the tables were all at least 6 feet apart, and the audio was quite good, so we could hear the people who were participating through Zoom. So it seemed like a pretty satisfactory arrangement to me, and I would prefer that to continuing Zoom meetings. So just thought I'd throw that out and see how other people felt about it.
So what do you think, other people?
Well,
I'm
putting
for
on
the
my
person
medical hat,
personality.
we've enjoyed a pretty low incidence of COVID in this area, but I think we can anticipate there's a reasonable probability there's going to be an uptick with kids going back to school, et cetera. I mean, I don't oppose it. I think this format actually works reasonably well. It's not the interactions, I guess, of board members, which is important that you would get meeting face to face. But I could go either way.
Okay, anybody else have any comments?
I guess I would prefer the hybrid approach to it, much like the school, to have that option of both the Zoom and in person.
Okay. I personally, I like Zoom, but I can go either way also. I think it's a good idea to us to think about the going back to school, which is happening right now. And maybe for our first one, we wait to see, maybe October is maybe a little too soon just to see how all of this kind of, kind of falls out here. Maybe we could plan for a November meeting. What do you think? And do a hybrid, and then those that feel more comfortable joining us online could do that, and then those who want to come could do that, and we can kind of ease our way into person to person. Probably next year we'll feel more comfortable with doing that all the time, but
Sounds like a good
Seems
plan.
reasonable. We'll see whether there's a spike after school and college and all of that begins.
Yes. We'll just wait until, we won't do anything in October until we see what happens with the school openings and see if we do get a spike. And then in November, we could plan on a hybrid meeting, in person and Zoom.
The other question I had about it is, I think the protocols for disinfection of tables, et cetera, hard surfaces, suggest that if there are 2-day gaps between meetings, that it should be safe. But if it's closer, if there's hours or only 1 day between meetings in a room, that disinfection needs to take place. So, is this something that the cleaning staff would feel is a burden if the meeting takes place, and then the courtroom is used for another purpose the next day?
Or the same day, because if we're meeting the same day that the local history team and they're meeting in the morning, does the disinfecting team or whatever it is, do they come in between? That's a very good question. I'm glad that you asked that. Eric, could you really help us to understand how that works?
My thoughts on this are that I would prefer Zoom because the disinfectant staff would be me. And
okay.
It's
yes.
more time that it would take me to set up and whatnot. Also, since you guys meet on Thursday, it is the same day as the court. The court is downstairs right now. I didn't think about that earlier. So there's not really like the large space that you guys had earlier, Sarah.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about the court.
Yeah, I did too. So
is it our room, the Ana Linda room that or not the Ana Linda, but the Oriana room, would that not be big enough for our meeting with those desks and separations and all of that?
If everybody attended, it definitely would not. I would think that you probably can only fit 4 or so people in there.
Oh, really? Oh, so
yeah,
we would either have to change our meeting date or, Okay, I don't think that's gonna happen. All right, well, if the three of us wanted to Zoom in and four of us wanted to be in person, I guess that could work, you know.
Sarah Linda, is there a reason why you want to be in person? Just like because you think the meetings run better, like being near the other members, or is it like a technological thing? You know, is there any other way that we can accommodate any concerns you have?
It sounds like I'm the only one that prefers meeting in person, so I'm happy to withdraw the suggestion. I personally find I have a hard time maintaining focus in a Zoom meeting compared to a in-person meeting, but you know, I can do it. It's fine. I'm surprised that everybody else likes Zoom as well as you do. But you know, that's okay.
Okay, well, let's put it this way then. We will keep that in the back of our minds that we do want to meet in person, but we're going to wait until it is all works to its advantage, you know, to our advantage to meet that way. And we'll still keep thinking about it. Maybe we'll come up with a brilliant idea. Maybe courts will change their day. Who knows? But thank you for the suggestion, Sarah Linda, and thank you for prompting us to think about those things. Okay, member reports. The CIC, the Citizens Implementation Committee, we have not been meeting during the month of August, and our first meeting back in September now will be next Tuesday. So I have no idea what that agenda is for. Local history team?
It's, as I recall, I think it's affordable housing.
Oh, affordable housing. Yeah, that's a good one to talk about, I think. We've been talking about it at the CIC level for a number of our meetings now. And I think we're getting really down into what do you think we can do and start talking that way instead about just the benefits of affordable housing. Thank you. I had forgotten about that, Eric. You're right. Okay, local history team. What's going on?
Nothing really new to report.
Okay, the environmental committee, we're still working on our recycling plan that the consultant, developed for us. We're finishing up a lot. We're just doing some smaller things now. We're doing an A to Z kind of recycling format where you could, here's you have a product, like an aerosol container, and then you'd look under A and you'd find aerosol container and you'd see whether that's recyclable or not. So it's kind of that kind of a thing. And we're also working on a questions that Q&A for the most maybe asked questions, which actually is almost complete. So that'll be coming up from the environmental committee. The natural resource inventory, we just talked about that. It's going to be on the town board's agenda at the end of this month on September 28th, and they'll set the public hearing at that time. The town tree board, Gary, Edith, anything to report?
Is yet to meet.
Not yet.
You haven't met yet, have you? But I think there's a meeting on September 24th, if I'm not mistaken. Isn't that right?
Coming up, something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think that they had some, I'm copied in on all those. So I know that there's some assessment going on with one of the tree board members who is an arborist, Dan Marino. And so it'll be interesting to see what transpires at the tree board and see how they move along, especially with the gypsy moth information and how that's going to go and all of that.
Yeah, regarding the gypsy moth, Sarah did put together some great information in the town newsletter. Is there a similar newsletter that the county puts out, or since this has affected multiple townships, is there a way of letting others know about this, the webinar, as well as sign up for possible spraying in the spring? How to spread the word to others?
I don't know, but I do know that the other municipalities have a relationship with the DEC, say with June Bryce, who is, I think, instrumental in putting a lot of this material together for the DEC. So I don't know what their relationship though would be with the DEC. And as far as I know, when we got the webinar that Edith and Sarah did, all we had to do was call Ontario County Planning Board. I talked with Linda Phillips and I said, would you mind sending this out? And she said, sure, we'll send it out. So I don't know exactly. I mean, we could probably do something like that with the newsletter article about the gypsy moth. And I mean, as far as taking it on as a responsibility, that would be, I think we could do that, don't you? I mean, it's just a newsletter article. I don't know who'd we send it to unless we send it to planning boards, town clerks, and ask the town clerk to post it, or you know, I don't think we'd have access to who their communications person is in each municipality.
Yeah, a blurb in the newspaper, I guess, something else.
Yeah. Let's think about that.
Okay.
And see how we can provide more information to other municipalities that maybe are a little behind. I'm thinking of Bristol. A lot of this is taking place in Bristol. I don't have no idea what their communication with their residents is or how they, but you know, I think Sarah would probably know because now that she's living in Bristol. So we could ask her. Gary, would you like to do that? Would you like to
I'll follow up with her. Yep.
See how we can do that? And the contact person at Ontario County Planning Department is Linda Phillips.
Okay.
She handles, you know, that kind of thing. I think.
Most of the towns have a website, and they tell you who is in charge of usually it's the town clerk.
Yeah.
And you can ask them to post it on their own websites, and most of them are very cheerful about having something to put. Yes.
Okay. All right. That's the way to do it then. We could just ask, because I know that she has a list. Linda has a list of all the town clerks because that's where our invasive species webinar. That's
yes. Well, the information is also available on the county website as to who the town. Yeah. All you have to do is click onto the towns, and it's all right there.
But it's so much easier for Linda to do it because she just probably has that all grouped up, and that means somebody would have to really do a lot of work with how many municipalities do we have? 24? I don't know.
Yeah, it's
something like that. Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll be looking forward to a little recap on that next month. Okay. Other than that, the sexual harassment training, the mandatory one, that was canceled because of COVID, it will be taking place in-person session on Wednesday, September the 16th. So there's also, what's that?
I was going to say, that one I was talking to Sam, it is more for the employees, like, I mean, I guess the more strictly defined employees, you guys aren't technically employees, but like staff at Town Hall, you're welcome to join, I guess, but I guess they kind of hoped that you would do it online so that the capacity or whatever of the courtroom.
You know, doing it online is not that, I mean, you got to set up an account, and then you got to do this, and then you have to do that. You have to click on this. I went to that site, I said, okay, I think I'll do this today. And, you know, and I said, then I looked, I got this information. I said, oh, September 16th. Yeah, that sounds like what I want to do. So there may be an easy way to do it. I don't know, but it looked like not something that interested me anyway. But if you don't want to go in person, then absolutely. And you know, Eric, if you prefer to have just staff because of the seating and everything, then, you know, just let us know that, you know, we have to do it online or something. Because if, you know, I think, you know, staff should take it first, and if everybody's 6 foot apart, you can't have that many people in a room. Not unless you're going to have are you going to have a couple of rooms open or something? You know, where you could.
No, I was planning on 2 sessions, one for like the staff in the town hall and one for the highway guys.
Okay. Well, let us know what your thoughts are on that, or talk with Doug or Sarah or somebody and find out for sure. I don't have to go to the 16th, and I'll try to muddle through to the online one. Okay. Has anybody else had any problems with that online? Taking that online? No? Okay.
Two.
Okay, that's it. There's a lot of future training opportunities here. You can look at the agenda and see what you'd like to participate in. Okay, that's it. Is there anything else anybody would like to relate, say, offer, anything? All right, I move to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Okay, I have to say who's seconding so that Rebecca will know who you are.
Sarah Linda.
Yes.
Okay, Sarah Linda seconds. All right, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much for coming. Have a great
Thank you.
holiday weekend, and we will see you here in another month. Gee whiz.
Thank you.
September,
The
October.
summer
Oh,
flew
October
by.
1st. Yeah.
Huh.
All righty. Thanks a lot.
So
Bye,
long.
everybody.
Bye, Joyce. Bye.